And welcome to PM Express. My name is Evans Mensah. Is doomsaw back? That's what we're going to talk about tonight. And it's one of those things that has been generating a lot of controversy in the last few hours. And over the weekend, I'm sure your power was out and you probably slept in darkness, just like myself. And as we've seen, it's hit a lot of homes in the last few weeks. Most parts of the country have been plunged into darkness, just as we illustrated on the show. And Minister of Energy pledged it was a technical challenge, which was going to be rectified in a few days. That's when it first happened on the 13th and 14th of March. We know after more than 3 weeks, the intermittent cut hasn't ended, and most of you are still experiencing that wherever you are. What are the reasons? Another heated controversy around the reasons. The Energy Ministry attributes the recent power cuts to a shutdown of the gas processing plant at Atwabo. That's according to a press conference they did today. Also, we know, as far as the Energy Ministry is concerned, that this, they say, is to enable gas produced from the fields in the western region to be pumped to Tema for use by the power plants there, we've been told. The shutdown, we are told, according to the authorities, will last between 10 to 12 days. And so you should start counting that by now, according to the powers that be. Now, there's a huge controversy around this particular question. This government don't want to hear the word doomsaw. And they've asked the question a lot, as has been asked today, especially, are we back to doomsaw? The Africa Center for Energy Policy has insisted there's no other way to describe this than doomsaw. If you put the light off and you put it back on in literal translation, that is what it comes down to. Now, based on the facts available, they say that the situation is indicative of what really was in existence in the last administration, which had the longest period of a power crisis that this country has ever faced. Now, they relate the situation to financial constraints on the part of government to meet its obligations, to find money to buy the fuel we need to power the plants that we have in the system. And they want government to publish a timetable, at least if you know it's going to last up to 12 days, publish a timetable, publish a schedule, so people can use that to guide their own works and businesses for the next few days until the 12th day is up. And says that government must be open about the challenges that face this particular country. The NDC has a statement out tonight also, and they say in the statement says that the government must accept that they have run the energy sector down because they believe that they left this government and this country in good shape when it comes to the energy sector. And NDC statement also said that the party wants government to also publish a load shedding timetable. This is where they agree with ASAP as far as the demand is concerned. And it wants the Nanado-led government must confront, they say, the issue head-on by admitting that we are back to do so. There's a huge controversy about this particular word. We'll try and find out why there is. The NDC also claims that the situation is a result of the financial challenges. Again, a lot of civil society groups, not only ASAP, come to the same conclusion. Government vehemently opposes this particular one. So are we back to doomsaw? Is the biggest question we're going to be exploring tonight. And with me to do this is Benjamin Boakye, who himself is the Executive Director of the Africa Center for Energy Policy. Also with me today is the ranking member on the Mines and Energy Committee, Mutawakilu, who is in the studio with us to explore this. I want you to join us wherever you are tonight, especially if you're experiencing doomsaw tonight. We'll be bringing you excerpts from that press conference and analyzing that. The President has also been speaking today, saying some very interesting things where we are with the power situation. All that analysis here on PMS. And I want you to join us in this conversation. My name is Evans Mensah. When we return from the break, we'll be delving into those matters. You're live on PM Express tonight. My name is Evans Mensah. It's unfortunate that many of you may not be able to watch this program because you may be in some form of a blackout tonight because of load shedding. I'm hesitating to call it doomsaw because of the problems associated with using the word. But my guests in the studio, they seem not to shy away from the words, understandably so, because they are technical people and understand this better than I do. And so let's go to school tonight and understand from them. But there's a politician also in my midst, and so as you say, whatever you hear, the MPP will say he's speaking from a political lens. He's the ranking member on the Mines and Energy Committee, Mutawakilu. Thank you, sir, for your time here on PM Express. Also joining me is the Executive Director of the Africa Center for Energy Policy, Ben Boakye. But let me start from what we've seen at the press conference. Everybody has heard it, so there's no need to belabor the point. Yeah. Government position clearly tonight is that the problem we are having with the energy situation is because of the shutdown of the turbo gas plant, just to allow for a tying into WAPCO, which the long run will serve the nation's ultimate interests. And so in fact, the words that were used by the Deputy Energy Minister in charge of power tonight is that it's a small price to pay for having a very efficient energy system. That's true. It's a fact, is it not?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that is a fact. And recently we even issued a paper on the delays that that project has seen, over the years. That project is 5 years behind schedule, really, because when we started producing gas from the Jubilee fields, the understanding was that we needed to reverse some of the gas to the east, where we have a lot of our thermal plants, to be able to use them, especially when Nigeria gas was not flowing. So we have always known that we have to do that. Then around 2014, we signed the biggest investment project in Ghana, a $7 billion investment project with ENI and its partners to produce more gas. So it was without question. 2014, that we needed to put in place systems to reverse the gas so that we can be able to consume the gas as a country. Because you are committing a country to a $7 billion investment, and once you are not able to consume that gas, it becomes a liability which you will have to pay. So we have been talking about the reverse flow, talking about the need to plan for consumption to coincide with the production of gas. So you have the situation where the 7 billion investment matures, or they deliver in record time, even ahead of schedule, 3 months ahead of schedule. And the 180 million or so investment that we needed to do to reverse the gas, we were sitting down, we had not even started. So that is what has brought us where we are today. If we had done the needful to ensure that those infrastructure, the reverse flow mechanism coincided with the production of gas, we wouldn't be in the situation that we're in. The worst part even is that because we were not ready and we are not consuming the gas, we are having to pay $32 million every month to ENI and its partners because we are not consuming the gas.
Because to sign an agreement with them and say,
exactly,
we will take your gas.
We will take your gas.
And so if they're producing the gas, and so if you're not taking, it's not our fault.
It's not our fault.
You still have to pay.
Especially
so what is the gas being used for?
They are not producing it.
Oh, but they already have the system in place. So what are they using? What are they doing with their investment?
So they produce, I think, about 60 million scf for the Western power plants when they need them. But excess, the bulk of it is not produced. But we still have to pay for it because there is a take-or-pay quantity that has to be delivered.
Which makes sense because the man
has
has
able to recover the investment.
Exactly, the man has put a lot of money in this, and we knew, and that comes to you because you speak for the NDC, which were in power when this became an issue. Because I pulled up a graphic story, which is a 2015 story, September 08. In fact, this even goes back to March of that year when we were told Ghana Gas were in talks by WAPCO over the reverse flow. And then in September, Cabinet, and I want to read that story because it's a Cabinet, and this is 2015, September. Cabinet has given the Ministry of Petroleum up to March next year, which is 2016, to connect the Turbo gas pipeline in the Western region to the West Africa gas pipeline to enable reverse flow of gas between the two lines. Now, this says a 6-month ultimatum follows an approval from the highest policy decision body of the government to the ministry to continue with processes aimed at connecting the 2 gas pipelines, which are central to the production of adequate electricity to the country. The approval marks an important milestone in efforts by the ministry to ensure that the Bond thermal plant and the other thermal plants all come on stream. And then they speak to the Chief Director of the Petroleum Ministry, Professor Thomas Akabza, who is no longer there. We know he was there now, Lawrence Apasi. He said the ministry was now facilitating negotiations between the Ghana Gas and WAPCO on how the interconnection should be carried out. Quote, technically, both have agreed that Ghana Gas will construct the pipeline from their end to the West Africa Gas Pipeline portion so that they, WAPCO, will also construct from there to there. This is 2015, Adam Mutawakilu.
Yeah, thank you.
Why didn't you implement this by your own set timeline by 2015, and you've let the problem labor on until now?
By 2015, development was still going on, not that it was ready to produce. And beginning something, you need to do certain negotiation, and that's what you just said, that cabinet had approved it.
Cabinet said finish it by mid-2016.
No, the processes, negotiation of the tariff is very, very important.
Yeah.
What WAPCO will take is important. But let me tell you, in 2016, the then Minister for Petroleum, Honorable Amakufibua, came to Parliament with a $3 million agreement so that they will be able to facilitate in terms of compressors on the line. So that by the time the gas is generated, all these things have been done. And also there was negotiation going on to agree with what WAPCO will charge for it. So it doesn't necessarily mean that once a cabinet has approved, immediately something is done.
No, the story says the cabinet gave an ultimatum that finish in 6 months, connect in 6 months. This is 2015.
No.
That is Mr. Kabza.
You cannot connect, let me come, connect in 6 months, that is September, by March 2016, when the gas is not yet ready. And when they say connect, doesn't mean that you just go and you connect. You have to sit with WAPCO to negotiate on the tariff, how much they will take.
Who signed the agreement for the gas that we now need to connect to reverse flow? Your government did.
Yes.
Your government did.
We signed the,
and when they come upstream, when they start production?
Let me first of all explain. ENI was not in the game from the beginning. ENI came somewhere 2013 when they farmed into this block and took over the block. And that is why they now came as the majority with the other partners. So that we must know. So it is not like ENI signed the initial agreement and initiated it to this. No. Now, when a cabinet approves, the pipeline do not belong to Ghana. We need to negotiate. And when we negotiate, we need to have compressors so that they can be a reverse flow, because it is one way from the east to the west. To get it back, you need compressors in that. And as such, in 2016, there was an agreement that we had approved in Parliament, $3 million, to facilitate all these things.
Yeah, so why did you finish the job?
We couldn't have finished because if negotiation delays, we cannot dictate to WAPCO that, hey, we need it this time, and therefore, because the pipeline do not belong to government of Ghana. And as at that time, it was still far away from the first gas produced. So there were negotiations ongoing. And therefore...
And it took 2 years, because he put the 2014...
No, it was... The support actually came in 2015. That is the 7 billion. Yes. With World Bank support.
So that's a year plus before you exited power, and you still couldn't...
When the gas is not flowing, we must understand.
You see, that is my challenge, really, when it comes to these problems. You see, right from Jubilee days, we knew that we needed to reverse the gas. It's not even ENI's situation. We always knew that once you have power plants in the east, you needed to reverse the plant. I mean, it wasn't magic required to actually negotiate with WAPCO. WAPCO, we are party to WAPCO. Okay, Ghana spent almost...
We have a stake in it.
We have a stake in it. We spent about $200 million in there. So I think across the government, it was the commitment to really push to negotiate with this their partners to actually allow the reverse flow to happen, because the project was a white elephant anyway. They were not getting gas from Nigeria, and the pipe was lying idle. So the commitment to actually negotiate with WAPCO has never was never affirmed. So we are negotiating. Another breath, we want to construct our own pipeline. So the contention between our own pipeline and negotiating with WAPCO actually delayed the project. So we were not really serious about negotiating to ensure that we can reverse the gas quickly and ensure that these kind of losses do not occur. And I mean, fast forward to 2016, there was a change of government. It's taken another 2 years.
2 years, yes, to get to this
to get that thing done.
When it was obvious.
When it was obvious that this project could be done in 6 months, and if you know it has taken less than that for.
Oh, so it could be done in 6 months.
Exactly.
So that explains why cabinet gave.
Yes.
Cabinet gave the 6 months for the government to fix it.
Yes, but when the negotiation with WAPCO delayed, it delays a lot. If you are negotiating, you can't start constructing to connect.
But this is a government negotiating with an entity that you have a stake in.
Please.
Why should it take that long?
It is a profit-making entity.
With your stake in it, with our stake.
Even that doesn't give you absolute control.
True.
You have the rules that establish the pipeline. So you don't just assume that once I have a stake, I can do whatever I want with it.
Do you at least
even
accept,
in your own business?
Yeah, I get you.
You can't just decide
do you
that it's my
accept
business.
part of the blame for what is happening today?
Because the first gas came out. No, the first announcement of commerciality, production, was announced by ENI in June.
But the point is...
Let me tell you.
Yeah, you said that we should have waited for the gas to be ready before we did that.
Let me come.
Okay.
The Minister of Energy then...
Amakufubwa?
No. Under the Ajako.
Ajako, okay.
Continuously promises the timeline.
Yeah.
And as ranking, when they announce that they will start commercial production of gas, I went to him. It was with Anta, as to how we will ensure that the 120 days do not expire. He assured me that by October, it will be done. And you know that because of that, they have to amend the plan of development to be able to make some the savings that was to be made. As at February, it was 691. They have to amend it to take part of this to be able to execute some of the construction work that is needed. And at the end of the day, it's still delayed. But the fact of the matter is that irrespective of these challenges, current doomsaw need not be there. Because it's not technical, it's financial.
But you cannot discount that there's a technical challenge.
No.
Because if we were not...
It's not technical.
Because if we were not shut down at Twabo, this wouldn't have happened.
It is not technical.
At all?
At all.
So you say 100% what? What is the problem?
We didn't need it. It's not technical.
So explain. You say you didn't need what? You need what?
If you shut down at Twabo, and the government has resources, we didn't need to have doomsaw.
Explain.
As we are having that, even though there is doomsaw as a result of financial challenges that is faced by GRIDCo. Now let me come. We have our hydro. Because we know that we can't depend on a single source fuel, maybe gas, or light crude oil, or heavy fuel oil, or LPG, just like LA Power, they take LPG. Most of our plants are dual fuel. That means if the gas is not there, you should be able to switch to another fuel. Dual fuel.
How many of our plants have that?
No, I can mention those that use single. Most of Amere uses single. You take Sonnen Asogli, it uses only gas. Car Power for now will say it uses only heavy fuel oil because.
By the way, it's just part of. It's part of the conversation. That's our reality now, I guess. Even though the power goes up and on, it's just a reality you're facing at home. So don't be surprised. Yes.
Car Power, even though it's dual, but its location has made it single because there's no gas and there's no way the gas is connected. You can easily switch. Now, most of the other plants are dual. This tie-in is not unplanned. It was known long time. 6 months ago, we were told by first quarter they will have a tie-in. So if you know that tie-in will come in 6 months' time, and most of the plants are dual fuel, before you even start, you should have secured
the alternative fuel.
Yes, the alternative fuel. You will wait, start the tie-in. There is doomsaw, severe one, than what we experienced 4 or 5 days ago. In the north, 4 or 5 days ago, we experienced serious doomsaw. Then you now come and tell me that, okay, it's because we are doing tie-in. That is why most of the plants are dual fuel. Now you take journalists to go and look at the crude. What does that mean?
To show you
that is a sign of desperation.
Why? To show you that the fuel is here.
The fuel is not just ordinary fuel. It must be processed to specification.
Tor said today that they are processing the fuel.
So when already. So you see that there was no plan. This government had no plan. If they had plan, I believe that last month the crude should have been in, processed, make sure it's dispatched. The moment this one is turned on, then with power. This is not the first time Atuabo gas plants have been shut off. When we had the turret bearing problem, somewhere May, June 2016, it was off for 2 weeks. Very irrespective of that, we didn't experience doomsaw because crude was secured, procured in advance to ensure that we are able to switch. That is 2016. 2016. Under President Mahama. Okay. So to say that because of the tie-in, we have doomsaw, it is not so
you're saying that this is lack of planning?
Lack of planning.
But you said it's financial.
Even if they plan, there was no money to buy.
How do you know that? The government categorically
There's no money. Let me now come in. That. You want me to go into details?
No. I mean, we'll come to the money shortly.
That is the money I want to talk about. I want to discuss
Let's talk about the lack of planning. I want him to comment on the lack of planning.
One. Okay. Two, there is no money to procure.
We'll come to the lack of money because it's substantive. But Ben, this thing about lack of planning, I heard today at the press conference, Amin Adam explained that that switch from one fuel to the other alternative doesn't just happen overnight. It's something that takes time. And so when people say, oh, you could have just flipped the switch and switch from light crude to whatever, it's not as simple as that. And so the point about lack of planning.
I think that was the point I was making earlier, that, I mean, it's been there. We knew this ought to have been delivered long ago, and that is why we're having to deliver it now. You know, it's long overdue. That project is long overdue. The NDC government failed to deliver it. 2 years into NPP government, they also failed to deliver it on time, and we are paying huge penalties as a result.
That's the thing that beats me.
You know, so
but when he says that he refuses to take responsibility for anything that's happening now, you agree?
No, they all
must take part of the blame. Okay. They must, because if the NDC has fixed it as cabinet had directed,
we wouldn't 2015, have to address
we won't be here.
Okay. We won't be here. And this,
and if this government too had done it since 2017,
we won't be here. It would have coincided with ENI gas.
I'll let you come in.
I just want to ask. I want to just ask something. Okay. So you don't have gas being produced. You've connected it and leave it there.
Okay, so what's your response to that?
Because there were instances where even Jubilee gas was available and stranded. So we shouldn't forget that also. We needed to reverse that gas. That infrastructure was non-existent, and therefore we couldn't flow the gas.
His fundamental point is that should they have done the connection when the gas wasn't available?
The gas has been available. That's what I'm saying. Jubilee gas. When Jubilee gas. I mean, if you Google it, you will see when we started talking about reverse flow. It's not ENI project that brought reverse flow. It was Jubilee gas. We needed to reverse part of Jubilee gas to the east. And we knew that we needed to reverse flow. We never did it. Yeah. So even when we had, in those days, TACO goes off, and there are plants in the east, and the gas is stranded. You know, so we have seen this for more than 5 years. And the lack of planning and consistency in ensuring that we deliver that project, you know, delayed.
So you agree with him when he says this particular problem could have been solved if the government had planned ahead and made the alternative fuel available way ahead of time?
Absolutely, because I mean, if you look at the plans that are available now, and that is why we're saying that it's doomsaw, and there is no other way to describe it, because you have car power that could deliver 450 megawatts.
Yeah.
It is doing 160.
Yeah.
You know, you have AXA that can do 220.
150. Why? Because
they can't go full capacity because they don't have fuel. You have AXA that can deliver 220. They are doing 105. You have KTP that can do 200 megawatt is nil. You have Asoglu that can do 220. They are doing 160. So 320. They are doing 160. So there is capacity to actually fill in the gap, but we were not, you know, fueling the plant. So what these plants were doing was to stretch the limited fuel they have into smaller production units so that they could space it for a longer period. So that
explains the shortfall.
That explains the shortfall.
So let's deal with the money question, because which was the central point of today's press conference. And I know you want to touch on that, Vic, but the Deputy Energy Minister today was categorical that for those who raised the point about this being a money problem, you don't know what you're talking about. And that the word he uses is that this is balderdash. If you're wondering what that means, is that it's nonsense that you suggest that there is a financial problem when the fuel is available. They've already procured it. TOR is processing it. It can be verified. In fact, they've shared now the details of the available gas. They said 10,500 MT of diesel for VRA is available. 11,000 MT HFO for AXA available. 300,000 BBLS LCO for VRA also available. And they say this is verifiable volumes available currently at TOR. So what are you talking about?
Let me come to this. Currently available, and we are experiencing dumsor. So what is it? But let me go further. If the Deputy Minister could read, is it paragraph 136 of this year's budget? They had proposed for parliamentary approval, which we approve, $181 million of gas consumed, part of the gas consumed in 2018 should be written off because VRA cannot pay. What is it about? Is it money problem or we have the money? That is one. Since VRA started consuming the ENI gas, they've not been able to honor their payment.
To ENI?
To ENI. Is it money problem or is technical? This is not technical. This is money. The IPPs, government owed the IPPs or ECG to the tune of almost 1 billion, over $900 million. They've not been able to honor. Is that technical? This is financial. Government owed GRIDCo to the tune of $171 million. Do we call it financial? This is financial. It's not technical. So when we start enumerating the government inability to pay and the ranting they made in 2016, that energy sector debt, 2.4 billion, when President Mahama had taken the bold decision to set up ESLA to settle the 2.4, you have come in 2 years, you have almost accrued a debt of 2 billion. And we all know that the energy sector debt is legacy debt, that is from 92 up. And you are using 2 years, that's 27 years accumulation of debt. You are using 2 years to cover it up. So far, almost 2 billion debt in the energy sector between January 2017 to now. The second one is that, why is it that you have used this ESLA that was set up by President Mahama and yielding almost 3 billion every year to raise a bond of 4.7? And the financial position, and the purpose was to what? To clean the balance sheet of these state-owned enterprises. That is VRA,
the president
GRIDCo,
said last week or last
ECG.
week that has been cleared. They're on a way to clearing.
I'm setting up this thing. You said you raise it to clear it. And the main purpose was to clear it so that they will be financially strong and will be able to borrow on their own balance sheet. So let's look at the financials. Let's take ECG. In 2016, ECG made a profit of 725 million Ghana cedis. In 2017, a loss of 521. Now we are injecting extra money to clean their balance sheet. At the same time, their performance is getting worse by the day. In 2018, their provisional accounts, 2 billion debt, a loss of 2 billion. If you go to GRIDCo, in 2016, they made a profit of 69 million Ghana cedis. In 2017, they made a loss of 31. In 2018, their provisional was 212, but after the audited one, 118 loss. And this has affected their financial ratios. As a result, today, the technical thing they talk about, there was a trip here, is just because of financial. Let me tell you.
There's a trip.
The whole of 2018, repairs and maintenance had been curtailed. They only do critical maintenances. So if there is a transmission line that needs to be maintained regularly, for the whole of 2018, it has not been maintained. It has a potential to trip. And that is why we are experiencing a lot of these things. And because of GRIDCo's poor financial ratios, because in 2018, the liquidity ratio is 0.92:1. And because of that, AFD suspended a project, 330 kV from Kumasi to Kintampo to Paga, so that it could upgrade the 161 to 330 kV to transmit. AFD suspended disbursement. And delay overruns alone has accrued additional $21 million. And you tell me it is not financial? Even if we tied in GRIDCo transmission challenges because of these financial challenges, will continue.
We'll see. Is that factual?
I mean, there are a lot of issues that will have to be verified. But what I'm saying is that the financial challenges of the power sector was never gotten away with. Debt accumulation has continued. Even though we knew the debt position of the sector, which was estimated to be around 2.5, which Excella was supposed to take care of, the debt accumulation continues. So we continuously keep piling the debt because of some of the poor decisions that we have made, in the power sector. I mean, when we were signing on a lot of generation, we kept cautioning that if you check our press statement, that capacity charges could cripple this economy if we don't check them. At the time we issued our first statement, we estimated about $250 million per annum.
Capacity charges are the charges you pay
of excess capacity that is not required.
The plant is just sitting there, is ready. You are taking, you are not taking,
you're paying, exactly. And nobody listened to us until World Bank intervened, before government pulled the brakes. Here we are, the plans are already signed, the contracts are enforced. So once they mature, you're going to have to start paying capacity charge. That's what we are told, that government is now paying about $25 million for only capacity charge. So that alone doesn't take away the debt accumulation. But, when government assumed power, I think sometimes the talk becomes too much and then you slip away from the reality. What they needed to do is to see which of these projects can we halt, as a matter of urgency, and ensure that they don't get to maturity to become a burden on us.
Last year, we announced that they're cleaning, they're cutting some of the...
No, but those were the low-hanging ones. You check the power system and you realize that some of them, there was no way they were going to come. PPAs that would never materialize.
They self-terminate.
And then they terminated them.
They self-terminate.
But there were actual PPAs that were enforced that we needed to take bold decisions. Even if we had to pay $50 million to cancel them, we needed to take those bold decisions to compensate the investors and say, no, we can't continue with this project. Because once you mature, then you are introducing that into 3-digit millions, and therefore we didn't need them. So those bold decisions were not taken. And that is why they have matured. And now we have huge excess capacity, which we are going to have to pay for. So the woes of the power sector is not over yet.
But this thing you say about excess capacity, so which means that we have an excess of what, 4,000 megawatts?
So now the total capacity is about 4,460.
So sitting there, these are equipment, plants that you can touch and feel, verifiable. Sitting there, ready to produce.
Yes.
All we need is to put in what? fuel
Yes.
to power them.
Yes.
And so, okay.
And our demand is around 2,000, now 2,600 maximum.
So we have double what we need.
Almost 1,000 megawatts.
So I mean, so if that's true, why are we struggling with that?
No, that's the position. I mean, so now you have.
So it's not about the plants not being available.
No, we have plants available.
So it's about fuel.
It's about fuel. And fuel is about money.
So fundamental, this is so.
Now,
You agree? Fundamental, fundamental. This is about money. You agree?
I mean, the current situation is money. I agree entirely that payments that are supposed to go to the generators, they are not going. GRIDCo, I mean, which cannot directly be linked to this one, but all of them are struggling. All the generators are struggling to get money paid.
All the generators you talk about, they were at the. Is Ghana Gas struggling?
GRICo Ghana Gas 735 million.
If that's true though, because that's surprising. Because
GRICo
all of them,
Ghana Gas
all of them.
735.
GRIDCo was at the press conference today. Ghana Gas was at the press conference today. PDS was at the press conference today. ECG, all of them said, "This is not money matter. This is." In fact, I want us to watch the Ghana Gas boss speaking about the real reason. After that, we'll take a quick break and return and answer the question. So, if that is the case, why are all these agencies publicly saying, I mean, something must be happening? Either my guests in the studio don't know what they're talking about, or
the Ghana Gas boss did a press conference, I think 3 weeks or so ago, complaining about indebtedness.
735
he did a press conference on his own debt.
Okay, but on a big stage today, this is what he said. Let's listen.
Looking at now interconnecting Ghana Gas's pipeline system with that of WAPCO. Certainly, when that happens, more often than not, you would have to shut both systems down. And it's not just a matter of just joining two pieces of pipe. It goes way beyond that. First, your system will have to be depressurized. That means these systems are at very high pressure. You have to depressurize them. And you also have to make them inert. Inert, that will mean that you will have to take all the flammable gas out of the system before you can do any works, hot works of interconnection. And then it's also be looking at equipment and facilities such as your regulator, your metering facilities, expansion, piping that you may have in there will all have to be modified. Heaters, all those will also have to be modified to meet your intended design, if you will. So that is where we are at now. We are looking at actually interconnecting WAPCO's system to Ghana Gas system. And why are we doing that? Essentially, to be able to take some of the surplus or residual gas in the West. You're all aware that we do have a lot of gas in the West, more than what our facilities, generation facilities can actually take. So we intend to take any surplus gas that is resident in the West through that interconnection and also through WAPCO's system to the East, where the gas supply is, to describe it generously, very anemic. And East reference is Tema, and West is Takoradi. Those are the two critical load centers in the country in terms of power generation.
We're going to take a short break now. I want to interrogate what we've just witnessed and really try and reconcile what I'm hearing from my guests in the studio and what we just heard. The people themselves say the problem is technical, and yet the experts and they say it's money. We'll return from the break. And by the way, why don't we have a load shedding timetable? Because load is being shed. I can tell you what is being shed in Kumasi, in the Doom, in other areas right now. I can tell you. So why don't we have that to guide us? Stay with us. We're still live on PM Express, and I know you have a lot to say, especially if you're in the dark and probably watching a generator and the noise is bothering you. Don't worry, they say it will be over in 12 days, and so we are counting down already. Help us with that. But in the studio with me still is Adam Mutawakilu. He's the spokesperson for the Minority on Energy. He's a ranking member of the Mines Energy Committee. Also with me is Benjamin Boakye, Executive Director with the Africa Center for Energy Policy. Mr. Mutawakilu, you wanted to Ben Boakye had made a point about excess capacity that we have. We are paying a lot of money for plants that are sitting there producing nothing, and yet you sign deals that requires that we pay. What's the justification for that?
First and foremost, you don't just put up plans just based on your consumption. If you are consuming 1,000, then I must have 1,000 megawatts. It's always very important to have what we call reserve margin. Reserve margin. It's about 18 to 20%.
Yeah, but we have 100%.
100%.
100%.
Let me
More
start
than 100%.
Let me still come. Two, the installed capacity we have, some of the plants are obsolete. But once you haven't taken them off the books, they are still part of installed capacity. We must admit that. They are down completely. They cannot more generate.
Are we paying for it?
No.
Okay.
But when you talk of installed capacity, once you haven't taken them off the books,
Yeah, you are paying for it.
you must still add it to the figure. So to know the actual installed capacity per plant ready to produce, you have to take them off. And you see that this figure will drop to some level. And
Yeah,
that is
but still 100%, even if it's dropped
when you
by
take
20.
260 megawatts and you take 20%, that is 520. Must be ready to intervene. Why we are in a country where about 1,600 megawatts is hydro, and the climatic conditions are changing. So in a situation where this 1,600, there's drought and we cannot generate, you must have additional one to add.
Yeah, which is a thermal.
Yes. Two.
Brief wrap up on it, because we need to move on to
the intention to export is very critical. To do more as energy hub, you must be able to export.
That is the part I don't understand.
No.
Why are we even thinking about that when we haven't solved our local problems?
We have to subsidize the exports.
No.
That is
No.
our intention.
Because our
No.
what we are paying for electricity is very expensive. If you're exporting it to Togo.
Let me tell you, reliability counts when the price of power comes. If you go to Benin prefer Ghana electricity to that of Nigeria.
Why?
Because it can go off and on.
Because it's not reliable.
No,
it's not.
No, not generation. Generation is reliable.
I'm not talking of.
I've been to Niger, I've been to Benin, and I've seen Nigeria power so reliable in those countries, because when they wheel the power through the GENCOs, it's not like their distribution system that is not so reliable. So at that level, they don't have that kind of challenge.
As we speak, I talk because we meet the agencies. Last 2 months, GRIDCo CEO was in Benin to negotiate how we can send some power to them. And as we know, we are also sending power to Burkina Faso, thinking of Mali and others. So once we pursue, the market will be available for us to sell.
Okay, let's listen to the president. He's been speaking about the doomsaw situation in the USA, the state of Massachusetts. He's met the Ghanaian community there. This is what he said.
Except for 1 or 2 unfortunate days, doomsaw is no longer a phenomenon in our country. We have been able to handle doomsaw. The huge debt, the $5 billion plus debt we inherited over the energy sector, we've dealt with half of it, and we're in the process of redeeming the other half. Today we're exporting energy to Burkina Faso. We'll begin again to Togo, because we have excess capacity and we're using it to derive more money for our country. It's important that we have reliable, secure supply of energy to be able to power the industries that are emerging, especially our bauxite and iron ore and steel industry.
Ben, your reaction to that?
No, I mean, it is true we have excess capacity, as we've been discussing here. The market in the region is not available to us. Our power is way too expensive for us to. I mean, as we speak, Nigeria is selling power to Benin for 6 cents per kilowatt hour. Our generating cost averages 12, 13, some even 15 cents per kilowatt hour. So we are priced out already. So we have a market in Burkina, which cannot even take so much. You can wheel maybe 100 megawatts to Burkina. So if you have excess of 1,000 megawatt, you still have a deficit, a significant power that you need to deal with. So our bet really is probably to grow local domestic demand. And that is why we are really worried that at this point where, for the first time, we are seeing demand picking up. Because post-dumsor in 2015, demand actually stagnated for a long while because people had now procured their gen sets. The hotels would prefer to turn on their own generators when they're...
Because it's reliable. I mean, yeah.
It's reliable, and it was even cheaper, for them to run their own gen sets. So it is now that demand on the grid is starting to pick up. So you have no business discouraging consumers of the grid. You understand? You have to now continue to boost their confidence and grow the domestic demand such that they can demand more of the excess capacity that you have. Bring on industry, encourage. Even now, some strategic policy decisions ought to be taken to give cheaper power to new industry that want to come in, so that we can invite them to come and consume the power, so that government doesn't have to pay excess capacity where it doesn't need to. So we are not taking those strategic decisions and hoping that some magic will happen and we'll be able to...
The president says that
it's not going to happen.
The power challenge we've had is a couple of days, 1 or 2 days.
No, but it contradicts what we've heard, from the ministry today, you understand, which explains that maybe he's not being fed the right...
Maybe he was referring to the mid-March problem, where we had it on the 13th and 14th. Maybe that's what it's referring to.
Maybe, just maybe. But now we are told that
it's going to go.
Go to about...
Yeah, and this thing was set in the last few hours, in the maximum 24 hours.
Yeah.
And we've been experiencing this particular challenge since at least Friday, when over the weekend it became very intensive. And you came from the US, so you saw the reality of this. But Mr. Mutawakilu, he says that your debt that you left, they've cleared half of it. They're just almost about wrapping up the rest.
How do they raise the money? From the XLA that was passed by President Mama, which they used to raise the Eurobond. But he forgot to mention what he has accumulated from 2017. From 2017 to today, it's about almost $2 billion. Just like with $400,000. Two years old, about $2 billion. From 92 to 2016, 2.4. And he's talking about the 2.4. Therefore, did not tell the foreigners that since I came to power, I have accumulated $2 billion debt in the energy sector. But you realize that he just said it some couple of hours ago. Yeah. That tells you that the president doesn't even think about Ghana.
Why you say that?
He's having fun there. So since Friday, since Friday,
you can't say that.
No. Since Friday,
the president of Ghana, I can.
He's sitting at a comfortable place where
since we can say that he's been ill-advised.
When I'm still talking. When we came here, we experienced it twice. But he's there, nothing is happening, so he has to talk the way he feels.
No, but
without reference to Ghana.
That was a political, not a serious comment, I guess. Because the president definitely thinks about Ghana.
Let's going forward.
Yeah,
we've always said it that the president is not on top of issues. He's not being told the truth all the time.
But the president lives in Ghana.
Let me come.
Dumsor is something that you can run away from.
I'm giving you some instances. In March last year,
briefly, because you need to wrap up.
He met tailors and hairdressers. I said tailors will reduce by 18%.
But they reduce.
Hairdressers 50%. No, knowing very well that they don't have category for tailors and hairdressers. He wasn't briefed well. This thing happened on Friday. Today is Monday. And the president doesn't even know that we are in serious crisis.
I'm saying that maybe he was
While he said it's 1 or 2 days, the minister even has run away from holding the press conference.
True.
And asked the deputies to hold it.
Maybe he was referring to the mid-March problem.
Every president must be briefed daily on events, what is happening in Ghana. And the power sector is critical.
Final very quick 10 comments on this, second comment on the lack of a load shedding timetable. Is this something that can happen, should happen?
No, it should. I mean, even if you're turning off the light for 2 days, 1 day, you need to let the public know.
Why do you think that we haven't done it?
I don't know. I think probably just to hide the problem. But now it's obvious. People know that there is load shedding. So let them know when they're going to.
Very important. We have, the minority have called for this long time because it helps planning.
Planning, okay. Are you going to push for this in Parliament because you have the power to force them to do it?
We don't have power to force.
No, you can hold somebody before you and say, why are you not publishing? On behalf of your constituents who are watching you tonight, who don't know what
he will talk, and he has made several promises, and that's why he had to avoid.
Okay.
He will come and talk. It will turn partisan.
I'm grateful that you joined us.
And at the end of it, nothing
I'm grateful that you joined us. That's been PMS tonight. My name is Stephen Spence. Enjoy the rest of your evening.